shark. I hope that you enjoy this. Please remember, I don't know how to say scientific names or scientific terminology, and if you have something you want me to read about on Wikipedia, please leave it in the comments below. All of these videos are based on viewer suggestion, and I will be totally interested to read about anything because I love reading, I love learning, and I love just chilling out and relaxing, and also helping all of you to relax. Now, without any further ado, let's jump into the last part of the shark Wikipedia. Now, we're going to be learning about shark behavior. The classic view describes a solitary hunter ranging the oceans in search of food. However, this applies to only a few species. Most live far more social, sedentary, ethnic lives and appear likely to have their own distinct personalities. Interesting. Even solitary sharks meet for breeding or at rich hunting grounds, which may lead them to cover thousands of miles in a year. Shark migration patterns may be even more complex than in birds, with many sharks covering entire ocean basins. Wow. Sharks can be highly social, remaining in large schools. Sometimes more than 100 scalloped hammerheads congregate around seamounts and islands, e.g. in the Gulf of California. Cross-species social hierarchies exist. For example, oceanic white-tipped sharks dominate silky sharks of comparable size during feeding. When approached too closely, some sharks perform a threat display. This usually consists of exaggerated swimming movements and can vary in intensity according to threat level. We move now to speed. In general, sharks swim or cruise at an average speed of 8 kilometers per hour, which is 5 miles per hour. But when feeding or attacking, the average shark can reach speeds upwards of 19 kilometers per hour, which is 12 miles per hour. The short-fin mako shark, the fastest shark and one of the fastest fish, can burst speeds up to 50 kilometers per hour, which is 31 miles per hour. The great white shark is also capable of speed bursts. These exceptions may be due to the warm-blooded or homeothermic nature of these sharks' physiology. Sharks can travel 70 to 80 kilometers in a day. Interesting. We move now to the intelligence of sharks. Sharks possess brain-to-body mass ratios that are similar to mammals and birds, and have exhibited apparent curiosity and behavior resembling play in the wild. There is evidence that juvenile lemon sharks can use observational learning in their investigation of novel objects in the environment. Interesting. Now we move to shark sleep. All sharks need to keep water flowing over their gills in order for them to breathe. However, not all species need to keep moving to do this. Those that are able to breathe while not swimming do so by using their spiracles to force water over their gills, thereby allowing them to shark in a open aquarium, and I saw it doing that, and it really did weird me out. Anyway, it has been recorded that their eyes remain open while in this state and actively follow the movement of divers swimming around them, and as such they are not truly asleep. Species that do not need to swim continuously to breathe go through a process known as sleep swimming, in which the shark is essentially unconscious. It is known from the experiments conducted on the spiny dogfish that its spinal cord, rather than its brain, coordinates swimming. So spiny dogfish can continue to swim while sleeping, and this also may be the case in larger shark species. In 2016, a great white shark was captured on video for the first time in a state researchers believed was sleep swimming. Wow, so that was only the first time in 2016. It's super interesting because it really seems like there is a lot more study that needs to be done onto sharks and how their sleep works. That's really interesting that we only know about the spine because of the spiny dogfish experiment. I hope that in the future they can do more experiments on this, and maybe if I get notified about a change or a new experiment, I can make an update video for you. Now we move to the ecology of sharks. Into feeding. Most sharks are carnivorous. Basking sharks, whale sharks, and megamouth sharks have independently evolved different strategies for filter feeding plankton. Basking sharks practice ram feeding. Whale sharks use suction to take in plankton and small fishes, and megamouth sharks make suction feeding more efficient by using the luminescent tissue inside of their mouths to attract prey in the deep ocean. This type of feeding requires gill rakers, long, slender filaments that form a very efficient sieve, analogous to the baleen plates of the great whales. The shark traps the plankton in these filaments and swallows from time to time in huge mouthfuls. Teeth in these species are comparatively small because they are not needed for feeding. Other highly specialized feeders include cookie-cutter sharks, which feed on flesh sliced out of the other large fish and marine mammals. Cookie-cutter teeth are enormous compared to the animal's size. The lower teeth are particularly sharp, although they have never been observed feeding. They are believed to latch onto the prey and use their thick lips to make a seal, twisting their bodies to rip off flesh. Some seabed-dwelling species are highly effective ambush predators. Angel sharks and wobbegongs use camouflage to lie in wait and suck prey into their mouths. Many benthic sharks feed solely on crustaceans, which they crush with their flat molariform teeth. Other sharks feed on squid or fish, which they swallow whole. The viper dogfish has teeth it can point outwards to strike and capture prey that it then swallows intact. The great white and other large predators either swallow small prey whole or take huge bites of large animals. Thresher sharks use their long tails to stun shoaling fishes, and saw sharks either stir their prey from the seabed or slash at swimming prey with their tooth-studded rostra. Interesting. I think saw sharks are the big sharks with the thing with the... You know what I'm talking about. Now moving to range and habitat. Sharks are found in all seas. They generally do not live in fresh exceptions such as the bull shark and the river shark, which can swim both in seawater and freshwater. Sharks are common down to depths of 2,000 meters, which is 7,000 feet, and some live even deeper. But they are almost entirely absent below 3,000 meters, which is 10,000 feet. The deepest confirmed report of a shark is a Portuguese dogfish at 3,700 meters, which is 12,100 feet. Now we move to relationships with humans. On to attacks. In 2006, the International Shark Attack File, the ISAF, undertook an investigation into 96 alleged shark attacks, confirming 62 of them as unprovoked attacks and 16 as provoked attacks. The average number of fatalities worldwide per year between 2001 and 2006 from an unprovoked shark attack is 4.3. Interesting. Contrary to popular belief, only a few sharks are dangerous to humans. Out of more than 470 species, only 4 have been involved in a significant number of fatal unprovoked attacks on humans. The great white, oceanic white, tip, tiger, and bull sharks. These sharks are large, powerful predators and may sometimes attack and kill people. Despite being responsible for attacks on humans, they have all been filmed without using a protective cage. The perception of sharks as dangerous animals has been popularized by publicity given to a few isolated, unprovoked attacks, such as the Jersey Shore attack of 1916, and through popular fictional works about sharks, such as the Jaws film series. Jaws author Peter Benchley, as well as Jaws director Steven Spielberg, later attempted to dispel the image of sharks as man-eating monsters. To help an unprovoked attack, humans should not wear jewelry or metal that is shiny, and refrain from splashing around too much. In general, sharks show little pattern of attacking humans specifically. Research indicates that when humans do become the object of a shark attack, it is possible that the shark has mistaken the human for species that are its normal prey, such as seals. Now moving to sharks in captivity. Until recently, only a few benthic species of sharks, such as the horn sharks, leopard sharks, and cat sharks, had survived in aquarium conditions for a year or more. This gave rise to the belief that sharks, as well as being difficult to capture and transport, were difficult to care for. More knowledge has led to more species, including the large pelagic sharks, living far longer in captivity, along with safer transportation techniques that have enabled long-distance transportation. The great white shark had never been successfully held in captivity for long periods of time until September of 2004, when the Monterey Bay Aquarium successfully kept a young female for 194 days before releasing her. Interesting. Most species are not suitable for home aquarium. That makes sense. And not every species sold by pet stores are appropriate. Some species can flourish in home saltwater aquaria. Uninformed or unscrupulous dealers sometimes sell juvenile sharks, like the nurse shark, which upon reaching adulthood is far too large for typical home aquaria. Public aquaria generally do not accept donated specimens that have outgrown their housing. Some owners have been tempted to release them. Species appropriate to home aquaria represent considerable spatial and financial investments, as they generally approach adult lengths of 3 feet, which culture. Moving to sharks in Hawaii. Sharks figure predominantly in Hawaiian mythology. Wow, that would be an interesting Wikipedia read. Stories tell of men with shark jaws in their back who could change between shark and human form. A common theme was that a shark man would warn beachgoers of sharks in the waters. The beachgoers would laugh and ignore the warnings and get eaten by the shark man who warned them. That's funny. Hawaiian mythology also includes many shark gods. Among fishing people, the most popular of all Omakua, or defied ancestor guardians, are shark Omakua. Kamaku describes in detail how to offer a corpse to become a shark. The body transforms gradually until the kahuna can point to the awestruck family to the markings on the shark's body that correspond to the clothing in which the beloved's body has been wrapped. Such a shark omaka becomes the family pet, receiving food and driving fish into the family net and warding off danger. Like all amoka, it had evil uses such as helping kill enemies. The ruling chiefs typically forbade such sorcery. Many native Hawaiian families claim such an amoka, who is known by name to the whole community. Kamuhoali'i is the best known and revered of the shark gods. He was the oldest and favoured brother of Peel, and helped and journeyed with her to Hawaii. He was able to assume that all humans and fish forms. A summit cliff of the crater of Kalau is one of his most sacred spots. At one point, he had a heiau, temple or shrine, dedicated to him on every piece of land that jutted into the ocean on the island of Molokai. Kamuhoali was an ancestral god, not a human, who became a shark and banned the eating of humans after eating one herself. In Fijian mythology, Dakuwaka was a shark god who was the eater of lost souls. In American Samoa, on the island of Tutuila in American Samoa, a US territory, there is a location called Turtle and Shark, Laumei Mali, which is important in Samoan culture. The location is the site of a legend called Oletala Ai Lelame Male Male, in which two humans are said to have transformed into a turtle and a shark. Epic. According to the US National Park Service, villagers from nearby Waidogi continue to reenact an important aspect of the legend as turtle and shark by performing a ritual song intended to summon the legendary animals to the ocean surface, and visitors are frequently amazed to see one or both of these creatures emerge from the sea in apparent response to this call. Wow. In popular culture, in contrast to the complex portrayals by Hawaiians and other Pacific Islanders, the European and Western view by sharks has historically been mostly of fear and malevolence. Sharks are used in popular culture commonly as eating machines, notably in the Jaws novel and the film of the same name, along with its sequels. Sharks are threats in other films, such as Deep Blue Sea, The Reef, and others, although they are sometimes used for comedic effect, such as in Finding Nemo and the Austin Powers series. Sharks tend to be seen quite often in cartoons whenever a scene involves the ocean. Such examples include the Tom and Jerry cartoons, Jabberjaw, and other shows produced by Hanna-Barbera. They also are used commonly as a cliched means of killing off a character that is held up by a rope or some other similar object as sharks swim right below them, or the character may be standing on a plank above shark-infested waters. Moving to popular misconceptions. Popular myth is that sharks are immune to disease and cancer, but this is not scientifically supported. Sharks have been known to get cancer. Both diseases and parasites affect sharks. The evidence that sharks are at least resistant to cancer and disease is mostly anecdotal, and there have been few, if any, scientific or statistical studies that show sharks to have heightened immunity to disease. Other apparent false claims are that fins present cancer. No, don't eat shark fin soup. And treat osteoarthritis. No scientific proof supports these claims. At least one study has shown shark cartilage of no value in cancer treatment. Going to osteoarthritis. It's not, obviously, shark is not special. We know that fatty acids that exist in all like fish are good in general for, your joints. So having a really high supplementation of, fish oil will help, possibly with inflamed, at least, joints, not necessarily full osteo or rheumatoid. But that's not an amount that you'd be getting from eating shark or anything like that. So if you're eating shark for that purpose, don't get fish tablets or get krill oil tablets or something like that. And of course, consult your general health practitioner and they'll give you more advice. Now to fishery. It is estimated that 100 million sharks are killed by people each year due to commercial and recreational fishing. It's not very fair that they kill 4 of us on average per year and we kill 100 million of them. Shark finning yields are estimated at 1.44 million metric tons for 2000, 1.41 million tons for 2010. Based on analysis of average shark weights, this translates into a total annual mortality estimation of about 100 million sharks in 2000 and about 97 million sharks in 2010, with a total range of possible values between 63 and 273 million sharks per year. Sharks are a common seafood in many places, including Japan and Australia. In the Australian state of Victoria, shark is the most commonly used fish in fish and chips, in which fillets are battered and deep fried or crumbed and grilled. In fish and chip shop, shark is called flake. One of the annoying things in Australia is some fish and chip shops will sell you, it's just called fish and chips. And a lot of the time that will be the shark. So, if you come to Australia and you want to make sure that you're not eating shark, go to a menu and they'll have multiple different, fish that you can choose, and just choose the fish that you like. Flathead, barramundi, whatever you're into. Tilapia is good. Anyway, and make sure you get some of that sauce. In India, small sharks or baby sharks, called sora in Tamil language, Telugu language, are sold in local markets. Since the flesh is not developed cooking, the flesh breaks it into a powder which is then fried in oil and spices, called sorapudu/soraburadu. The soft bones can easily be chewed. They are considered a delicacy in coastal Tamil Nadu. Icelanders ferment Greenland sharks to produce a delicacy called hakal. During a 4-year period from 1996 to 2000, an estimated 26 to 73 million sharks were killed and traded annually in commercial markets. Sharks are often killed for shark fin soup. Fishermen capture live sharks, fin them, and dump the finless animal back into the water. Shark finning involves removal of the fin with a hot metal blade. The resulting immobile shark soon dies from suffocation or predators. Shark fin has become a major trade within the black markets all over the world. Fins sell for about $300 per pound in 2009. Poachers illegally fin millions each year. Few governments enforce laws that protect them. If you ever see shark fin soup or shark fins being sold anywhere, please refrain from supporting that business and go and take your business elsewhere. In 2010, Hawaii became the first US state to prohibit the possession, sale, trade, or distribution of shark fins. From 1996 to 2000, an estimated 38 million sharks had been killed per year for harvesting shark fins. It is estimated by Traffic that over 14,000 tons of shark fins were exported into Singapore between 2005 to 2007 and 2012 to 2014. Shark fin soup is a status symbol in Asian countries and is erroneously considered healthy and full of nutrients. Scientific research has revealed, however, that high concentrations of BMAA are present in shark fins. Because BMAA is a neurotoxin, consumption of shark fin soup and cartilage pills therefore may pose a health risk. Wow. BMAA is under study for its pathological role in neurodegenerative diseases such as ALS, Alzheimer's disease, and Parkinson's disease. So, with neurotoxins, of course, you know that neurotransmitters are very important for thinking and connecting muscles and neurons, because a nerve connects one nerve to another via a transmitter, so a toxin kind of lowers that or stops it. So it's quite interesting that so much of the world eats shark fin soup, even though it's not really healthy and it has a component of it which could be really bad for you. So if you know anyone that supports shark fin soup, tell them that. Moving on. Sharks are also killed for meat. European diners consume dogfishes, smooth hounds, cat sharks, makos, boar, beagle, and also skates and rays. However, the US FDA lists shark as one of 4 fish, with swordfish, king mackerel, and tilefish, whose high mercury content is hazardous to children and pregnant women. You should be careful about making sure you don't have too much fish that are high up the predatory chain, because of course mercury accumulates, so a fish will eat a fish and then a fish will eat that fish, and when you get up to higher predators, you're going to be getting, a lot of mercury and other heavy metals which are really bad for you, and also plastic. And a similar thing happens with parasites when you eat predators. So, we don't eat wolves or bears as much, even though a lot of people like bear meat. They can, because they're predators themselves, ingest a parasite from another thing, and the chances of you getting a parasite are much higher, because a bear might eat, a few thousand animals, whereas, the animal that the bear eats may, never eat another animal. So the risk of it getting a disease is much higher. That's one of the reasons why we tend not to eat predators as much. Sharks generally reach sexual maturity only after many years and produce few offspring in comparison to other harvested fish. Harvesting sharks before they reproduce severely impacts future populations. Capture-induced premature birth and abortion, collectively called capture-induced parturition, occurs frequently in sharks/rays when fished. Capture-induced parturition is rarely considered considered in fisheries management, despite being shown to occur in at least 12% of live bearing sharks and rays, which are 88 species to date. The majority of shark fisheries have little monitoring or management. The rise in demand for shark products increases pressure on fisheries. Major declines in shark stocks have been recorded. Some species have been depleted by over 90% over the past 20 to 30 years, with population declines of 70%, not unusual. A study by the International Union for Conservation of Nature suggests that 1/4 of all known species of sharks and rays are threatened by extinction, and 25 species were classified as critically endangered. Moving now to shark culling. In 2014, a shark cull in Western Australia killed dozens of sharks, mostly tiger sharks, using drum lines until it was cancelled after public protests and a decision by the Western Australia EPA. From 2014 to 2017, there was an imminent threat policy in Western Australia in which sharks that threatened humans in the ocean were shot and killed. This imminent threat policy was criticised by Senator Rachel Seward for killing endangered sharks. The imminent threat policy was cancelled in March of 2017. In August of 2018, the Western Australian government announced a plan to reintroduce drum lines, though this time drum lines are smart drum lines. From 1962 to the present, the government of Queensland has targeted and killed sharks in large numbers by using drum lines under a shark control program. This program has also inadvertently killed large numbers of other animals, such as dolphins. It has also killed endangered hammerhead sharks. Queensland drumline project has been called outdated, cruel, and ineffective. From 2001 to 2018, a total of 10,840 sharks were killed on lethal drum lines in Queensland, including in the Great Barrier Reef. From 1962 to 2018, roughly 50,000 sharks were killed by Queensland authorities. The government of New South Wales has a program that deliberately kills sharks using nets. The current net program in New South Wales has been described as being extremely destructive to marine life, including sharks. Between 1950 and 2008, 352 tiger sharks and 577 great white sharks were killed in the nets in New South Wales. Also during this period, a total of 15,135 marine animals were killed in the net, including dolphins, whales, turtles, dugongs, and critically endangered grey nurse sharks. There has been a very large decrease in the number of sharks in Eastern Australia, and the shark killing programs in Queensland and New South Wales are partly responsible for this decrease. KwaZulu-Natal, an area of South Africa, has a shark killing program using nets and drum lines. These nets and drum lines have killed turtles and dolphins and have been criticised for killing wildlife. During a 30-year period, more than 33,000 sharks have been killed in KwaZulu-Natal's shark killing program. During the same 30-year period, 2,211 turtles, 8,448 rays, and 2,310 dolphins were killed in the KwaZulu-Natal. Authorities on the French island of Reunion kill about 100 sharks per year. Killing sharks negatively affects the marine ecosystem. Jessica Morris of Human Society International calls shark culling a knee-jerk reaction and says sharks are top-order predators that play an important role in the functioning of marine ecosystems. We need them for healthy oceans. George H. Burgess, the former director of the International International Shark Attack File describes shark culling as a form of revenge, satisfying a public demand for blood and little else. He also said shark culling is a retrotype reminiscent of what people would have done in the 1940s and 50s, back when we didn't have an ecological conscience and before we knew the consequences of our actions. Jane Williamson, an associate professor in marine ecology at Macquarie University, says there is no scientific support for the concept that culling sharks in a particular area will lead to a decrease in shark attacks and increase ocean safety. Moving to other threats. Other threats include habitat alteration, damage and loss from coastal development, pollution and the impact of fisheries on the seabed and prey species. The 2007 documentary Shark Water exposed how sharks are being hunted to extinction. Finally, we move to conservation, a very important part of the Wikipedia. In 1991, South Africa was the first country in the world to declare great white sharks a legally protected species. However, the KwaZulu-Natal Sharks Board is allowed to kill great white sharks in the Shark Control Program in eastern South Africa. Intending to ban the practice of shark finning while at the sea, the United Congress passed the Shark Finning Prohibition Act at 2000. 2 years later, the act saw its first legal challenge in the United States versus approximately 695 pounds of shark fins. In 2008, a federal appeals court ruled that a loophole in the law allowed non-fishing vessels to purchase shark fins from fishing vessels while on high seas. Seeking to close the loophole, the Shark Conservation Act was passed by Congress in December of 2010, and it was signed into law in January in 2011. In 2003, the Eastern Union introduced a general shark finning ban for all vessels of all nationalities in Union waters, and for all vessels flying a flag of one of its member states. This prohibition was amended in June of 2013 to close remaining loopholes. In 2009, the International Union for Conservation of Nature's IUCN Red List of Endangered Species named 64 species, 1/3 of all oceanic shark species, as being at risk of extinction due to fishing and shark finning. In 2010, the Conservation of International Trade in Endangered Species CITES rejected proposals from the United States and Palau that would have required countries to strictly regulate trade in several species of scalloped hammerhead, oceanic whitetip, and spiny dogfish sharks. The majority, but not all, required 2/3 of voting delegates approved the proposal. China, by far the world's largest shark market, and Japan, which battles all attempts to extend the convention to marine species, led the opposition. In March of 2013, 3 endangered commercially valuable sharks, the hammerheads, the oceanic whitetip, and the poor beagle, were added to the Appendix 2 of CITES, bringing shark fishing and commerce of these species under licensing and regulation. In 2010, Greenpeace International added the school shark, shortfin mako shark, mackerel shark, tiger shark, and spiny dogfish to its seafood red list, a list of common supermarket fish that are often sourced from unsustainable fisheries. Advocacy group Shark Trust campaigns to limit shark fishing. Advocacy group Seafood Watch directs American consumers to not eat sharks. Under the auspices of the Convention on the Conservation of Migratory Species of Wild Animals, CMS, also known as the Bonn Convention, the Memorandum of Understanding on the Conservation of Migratory Sharks was concluded and came into effect in March of 2010. It was the first global instrument concluded under the CMS and aims at facilitating international coordination for the a major market and entry point for shark fins, banned the shark fin trade, joining 7 other states of the United States and 3 Pacific US territories in providing legal protection to sharks. In the United States, and as of January 16, 2019, very recently, 12 states including Massachusetts, Maryland, Delaware, California, Illinois, Hawaii, Oregon, Nevada, Rhode Island, Washington, New York, and Texas, along with 3 U.S. territories, American Samoa, Guam, and the Northern Mariana Islands, have passed laws against the sale or possession of shark fins. Yeah, go on them. Several regions now have shark sanctuaries or have banned shark fishing. These regions include American Samoa, the Bahamas, the Cook Islands, French Polynesia, Guam, the Maldives, the Marshall Islands, Micronesia, the Northern Mariana Islands, and Palau. In April of 2020, researchers reported to have traced the origins of shark fins of endangered hammerhead sharks from a retail market in Hong Kong back to their source populations, and therefore the approximate locations where the sharks were first caught, using DNA analysis. In July of 2020, very recently, scientists reported results of a survey of 371 reefs in 58 nations, estimating the conservation status of reef sharks globally. No sharks have been observed on almost 20% of the surveyed reefs, and shark depletion was strongly associated with both socio-economic conditions and conservation measures. Sharks are considered to be a vital part of the ocean ecosystem. Well, I hope you enjoyed this last episode of our series on sharks, though if you want to know something about a specific type of shark, please let me know. If you have anything you want to tell me, if you want to make some friends or respond to other people's comments, if you want to talk to me, if you have an idea for a video, please leave it in the comments. But I hope you had an amazing time watching this video, and thank you so much for supporting me, for being around, and I hope you had a good day, a good night, and sleep